Welcome to Untested Builds, where we build fictional characters for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Comment your favorite characters that you want to see and subscribe for a new build every week. Fall is my favorite time of year, and Halloween is my favorite holiday, and since trick-or-treating and costume parties are essentially canceled this year, I decided that I'd bring the Halloween fun to Untested Co. by building the OG Goth Girl. At least OG if you were growing up in the 2000s. I've been showing my age a lot in these past few videos, huh? I got a Facebook too if you want to follow me there. I wanted to do a poll of witches because I wanted Spooky and Raven, the only person on the poll who does not self-identify as a witch, won. Better luck next year, I guess, Sabrina. Most witches in pop culture and in Pathfinder get their power from a patron or from spirits, usually of the evil or chaotic variety, but that's up to interpretation. Raven does technically get her power from a patron, but the relationship has a few, let's say, issues. She's the not so immaculately conceived child of a human mother and an interdimensional demon conqueror of worlds. Her entire purpose for existing is to serve as a portal to allow her father Trigon to enter into our dimension at full power with a complete physical form. So she's basically DC's antichrist. What I'm saying is, there's a lot to unpack here, so let's start by narrowing down some goals. Raven is an empath, which is like a telepath, only for emotions instead of thoughts. Not only can she passively feel the emotions of those around her, she can also inadvertently and purposely force others around her to feel the emotions she's feeling. The pacifist monk mages who served as her adoptive parents trained her to control her emotions as they were tied to her other powers, hence her general dour demeanor. Speaking of other powers, her ancestry and patronage give her access to a variety of sorcerer's abilities tied to her father's domains of fire, darkness, and corruption. Raven isn't just another person with great power thrust upon her, though. She's also a very competent wizard who's just as likely to pull out a spell from a dusty old tome as she is to use her raw power to brute force a problem if an issue called for it. Probably going to need more than one spell list for this. Raven is only one generation removed from a pure demon, so naturally we're falling under tiefling territory here. The only problem is that mechanically and aesthetically, she has nothing in common with a tiefling. Unless you count that one time she went actually evil and got red skin, but we're building the hero version and she usually runs the spectrum from unnaturally pale to literally gray in complexion. Duskwalkers are gray and Raven has come back from the dead on a few occasions, so that works. Human Duskwalkers gain 2 free ability boosts that we'll take in charisma and dexterity. We also get low light vision. We'll take the mystic background because there's nothing for humans inhabiting a demiplane. We'll take our boost in intelligence and charisma. We also get training in a plane of our choice. The obvious choice is Azarath, since that's where we were raised, but if you're playing in the legit setting, you can pick like Nirvana or something. Arcane Sense gives us the ability to cast Detect Magic at 1st level as an innate arcane spell at will. This gets heightened to 3rd level once we're mastering Arcana. We'll pick up the Gravesight feat to upgrade our dumb Dustwalker eyes to give us dark vision. I don't know if I threw you off our scent hard enough, but we're not going witch, obviously. That'd be too easy. We aren't going cleric or sorcerer either. They just don't really capture the essence of what we're about. If only there was a class that gave us full spellcasting abilities while also making us fear ever losing control of our powers. Oh wait, the Advanced Player's Guide gave us the exact class with the Oracle. So I finally read the Oracle class features and now I want to make so many Oracles. We'll get a boost to charisma and choose a mystery that serves as our source of our divine magic. We'll choose the mystery of flames. Now, I know Raven is all about darkness and emotions, but her father's main thing is fire. And it could be black fire if you want, unless a certain other Titan sister is around, then you might want to not have it be so confusing. The Flames mystery gives us fire magic at the cost of constant visions of Trigon's realm and eventually engulfing and surrounding yourself in fire, you know, to prepare for Trigon. The Produce Flame cantrip gives us the option of making a melee or ranged spell attack to deal 1d4 plus our crit modifier of damage. On a crit, we double the damage and also deal 1d4 persistent fire damage. We also gain the Fire Ray focus spell, which also is a spell attack that deals 2d6 fire damage, also with the chance to deal persistent fire damage. We have to choose a domain, which counts as a sort of subcategory for our mystery. The Fire domain gives us another focus spell, Incendiary Aura. For 1 minute, anytime a creature would take fire damage within a 10-foot emanation, they take an additional 2d4 persistent fire damage. But that extra damage is going to cost you. The Incendiary Aura has the Curse Bound trait, meaning casting this will advance your curse. We also get regular spells and cantrips. We're only going over the most Raven options though. Zeratul was pushing 19 minutes and I really want to stay shorter than an anime episode here. Shield raises a magical shield for a +1 circumstance bonus to AC and the option to use the shield block reaction. If you do, however, the shield ends and it can't be used again for 10 minutes. Daze deals your charisma modifier in mental damage to a target who fails a will save. On a crit, they're also stunned 1. Stabilize removes the dying condition from something, but they're still unconscious on account of having 0 HP. Fear gives a creature some value of frightened based on a will save and forces them to flee on a crit. We'll take our initial skill training in deception, diplomacy, intimidation, nature, and society, and take our ability boost in dexterity, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. Okay, so I lied. We're going Sorcerer 2. Did you really think we could build Raven with access to only 1 spell list? The Sorcerer dedication gives us the option to choose a bloodline for access to even more spells. The Shadow bloodline gives us training in stealth and occultism and 2 occult cantrips. Mage Hand lets us move an object of light bulk up to 20 feet. Telekinetic projectile lets us hurl an object of 1 bulk or less at a target to deal 1d6 plus our charisma modifier of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage as a spell attack. This is your go-to spell if you're just emulating animated Raven. Honestly, if you want animated Raven, pure Shadow Sorcery is your best bet, considering all the Trigon stuff is basically only a few episodes. The recognized spell feat lets us attempt to identify a spell we can see the activation of as a reaction, and on a critical success we also gain a +1 circumstance bonus to AC or the relevant saving throw against that spell. Since we're trained in all 4 magical traditions, we can recognize anything level 2 or lower automatically, but we still roll to determine if we get the bonus or not. Level 3 oracles get signature spells that we're just straight up better at casting. For each level of spells we know, we can select 1 spell that we can heighten or reduce the level of freely. We still use the appropriate level slot when casting the spell, but as a spontaneous caster, this keeps us from needing to learn the same spells over and over at each spell level. We get a skill increase that we'll use for expert diplomacy. We also get level 2 spells. Darkness creates a 20-foot burst of magical darkness, attempting to counteract any magical light should they overlap. Calm Emotions forces creatures to suppress their emotions just like you can. Any creature in a 10-foot burst makes a will save. On a regular success, they take a -1 to all attack rolls, and on a failure, they cease becoming hostile until a hostile action is performed on them. We'll take Ancestral Paragon for an extra level 1 Ancestry feat since we kinda had to waste our first one buffing our eyes. Keep Up Appearances lets us at least pretend we aren't affected by an emotion effect. On a successful deception check, the creature using the emotion effect believes that we were not affected. So, the fun part of having multiple spell lists is that we get new spells basically every level. Basic Sorcerer spellcasting gives us a first level occult spell. Charm lets us do more than simply calm creatures. We can actually improve a target's disposition towards us based on a will save. If they fail, they become friendly towards us for 1 hour, and if we're already friendly, they become helpful instead. On a critical fail, they become helpful automatically and can't make any hostile actions while the spell is up. If you're feeling particularly evil and want to start a cult, you can heighten this bad boy up to level 8 and basically permanently enthrall up to 10 people forever. Lie to Me lets us use our deception DC rather than our perception to determine if we're being lied to by an NPC. This is kind of played off as being a mundane ability, but I'm basically tying Raven's ability to control and sense emotions to her charisma-based skills as well. Level 5 oracles can cast level 3 spells. Let's get some damage going. Agonizing Despair deals 4d6 mental damage and frightens a creature based on a will save. Chilling Darkness fires a ray of darkness that deals 5d6 cold damage and also an additional 5d6 evil damage if the target is a celestial based on a spell attack roll. In addition, if there's any magical light in this spell's path or at the target, this spell attempts to counteract that source. We'll grab Expert Occultism Proficiency and Training in Survival. The Ward Against Corruption Ancestry feat gives us a +1 bonus to death effects, disease, and all effects from undead or Sakills, which are basically rogue soul reapers. The bonus does stack if the effect happens to be a death or disease effect coming from an undead or Sakill. Trigon's gonna protect his property. Same ability boost as last time. Level 6 basic sorcerer spellcasters can cast second level spells. Animated Assault is the upgrade to our telekinetic projectile. We hurl unattempted objects at an area to force reflex saves on each creature in a 10-foot burst. Creatures who fail take 2d10 bludgeoning damage. We are able to sustain this spell up to a minute, and creatures who remain in the area and continue to fail their saves take an additional 1d10 bludgeoning damage on subsequent rounds. Advanced Revelation gives us access to the advanced focus spell associated with our mystery. Whirling Flames forces a reflex save and up to 2 5-foot bursts that don't overlap. Creatures who fail take 5d6 fire damage. Hey, this probably works pretty good with Incendiary Aura if you cast them back to back. Nothing could go wrong there, right? Right? Group Impression lets us make a diplomacy check on up to 4 targets, comparing against their will DCs when we make an impression. Yes, this is how we got the Titans to help us at that impossible task, which is basically keeping Satan from coming to Earth. Speaking of impossible tasks, making regular content while working full-time during a pandemic has turned out to be pretty difficult. If you got a buck or two to spare and you like the stuff we're putting out, consider making a pledge to our Patreon or buying a sheet on the Gumroad so we can keep the coffee flowing during these late night editing sessions. If you can, I'll even fork over a bit of creative control too. Links in the description. Okay, bye. Level 7 oracles are expert spellcasters. Resolve increases our will save to master and gives us the critical results on regular successes. We can also cast level 4 divine spells. Freedom of movement gives a target immunity from effects that impart a speed penalty and lets them automatically succeed at attempts to escape from immobilizing effects unless they're magical and a higher level than we cast this at. We use our skill increase for Master Occultism and grab the Canny Acumen General feat for Expert Fortitude saves that will automatically become Master Proficiency at level 17. Level 8 Basic Sorcerer Spellcasters gain a 3rd level spell slot. Now you can get your Meditate on with Levitate. Sorry, that was bad. You can cast this on an unattended object or a willing creature to make them float for 5 feet off the ground for up to 5 minutes. While they're in the air, you can move them around, up or down 10 feet as a concentration action, and they take a -2 penalty on attack rolls unless they take an action to stabilize themselves against a wall or something. Maybe don't use this in combat unless you have a pretty good plan. Bloodline Breath gives us even more spells. Now we increase our spells per day by 1 for each level of sorcerer spells we can cast except for the highest 2. Grim Tendrils forces a Fortitude save on living creatures within a 30-foot line. Creatures that fail take 2d4 negative damage and 1 persistent bleeding damage. Bizarre Magic increases the DCs to recognize spells we cast and identify magic we use by 5. Level 9 Oracles gain Magical Fortitude for Expert Fortitude saves. Again, we also get level 5 Divine spells. Banishment forces a creature back to its home plane based on a will save. You can spend a 3rd action to add a material component to this to give the target a -2 circumstance penalty to their save. But it's got to be a specific material anathema to the target. Also, we can't cast this unless we're on our home plane. So the material plane? Question mark? We were conceived on Earth, born and raised on Azarath, a definite demi-plane, and we kind of are the gateway to Trigon's realm, so that counts too, right? Let's just say home is where the heart is and count all 3. Deal? Deal. Aeromancer lets us cast Fly as a 4th level spell once per day as an innate arcane spell, meaning we get a fly speed up to our speed and a minimum of 20 feet for 5 minutes. Raven wasn't always able to fly in the comics, so getting this kind of late is actually pretty accurate. Level 10, for the first time ever, we don't get new spells. We do get a chance to cast 2 spells in a turn though with Quickened Casting. Once per day, we can spend a free action and cast our next spell and 1 less action than normal to a minimum of 1 action. This only works on our Divine Oracle spells, however, but that includes our focus spells, so go nuts with those. Shameless Request might have helped the first time we went to the League for help. With this, we reduce the DCs for a request action by 2 for an outrageous request. But if we fail, we get a critical failure instead, meaning now we gotta go to a bunch of sidekicks for help instead. We'll grab some acrobatics training, cause Robin said we had to, and take the same old ability boost as last time. Level 11 Oracles gain Alertness for Expert Perception Proficiency, Weapon Expertise for Expert Proficiency in Simple Weapons and Unarmed Strikes. Again, Robin made us learn. We also unlock the effects of our Major Curse instead of tapping out at Moderate like a punk. We still get overwhelmed if we cast another Curse-bound spell while we're at our Major Curse though. It's not all bad. Whenever we refocus, if we spend at least 2 focus points, we regain 2 focus points instead of 1. We also get 6th level spells. Scintillating Safeguard gives up to 5 willing creatures resistance 10 against a type of incoming damage as a reaction. Your soul self doesn't just protect, it attack too. Spirit Blast deals 16d6 force damage to a target who fails a Fortitude save. Since this is an ethereal attack, it is able to damage a spirit even if it's not inhabiting a physical body, but has no effects on creatures without a soul, like constructs or my ex. We use a skill increase for Expert Intimidation and gain the incredible Initiative feat for a +2 bonus to initiative rolls. Raven also has limited precognition and chronomancy, but she doesn't use it much, so we won't either. At level 12, it's back to gaining new spells at every level, with Expert Sorcerer Spellcasting for a 4th level Occult spell slot. Dimension Door lets us teleport ourselves and everything we're wearing to an area we can see within 120 feet. Quick Recognition allows us to use Recognize spell as a free action once per round to identify occult spells. Level 13 Oracles gain Weapon Specialization for an extra 2 damage on our simple and unarmed strikes. Lightning Reflexes for Expert Reflex Proficiency and Light Armor Expertise for Expert Proficiency in Light Armor and Unarmored Defense. We also get level 7 spells. Plane Shift opens up other planes of existence by allowing us to transport ourselves and up to 8 other creatures to a plane of our choice, provided we have an appropriate tuning fork for the destination. We'll take our skill increase in Intimidation. The Aerialist Ancestry feat gives us a +2 bonus to acrobatics checks to maneuver in flight, and a 5-foot status bonus to speed while using our fly spell. Level 14 Expert Sorcerer Spellcasters can cast 5th level spells. It's been a while since we upped our telekinesis, so let's fix that now. Telekinetic Haul is like the Mage Hand spell, except we can move an object up to 80 bulk instead, and we can also sustain the spell to use this on more than one object during the duration. Forestall Curse lets us spend an action before casting a focus spell. If we do, we won't advance to the next stage of our curse after casting the spell. We all know the telltale signs of fighting off Trigon's corruption, an extra set of glowing red eyes appearing from our forehead. Intimidating Glare allows us to demoralize a target visually instead of audibly. Level 15 Oracles are Master Spellcasters who can cast 8th level spells. Moment of Renewal heals up to 6 creatures a day's recovery's worth of HP in 2 actions. Raven wasn't supposed to be the team healer, but she's shaping up to be pretty darn good at it. Devour Life is like healing, but at the cost of a target's life force. If they fail a Fortitude save, they take 60 negative damage, killing them immediately if they fall below 0 HP, and we gain half the amount of HP dealt as HP. Any excess is gained as temporary hit points that last for a minute. We also get a skill increase that we'll use for Legendary Occultism, and take the Die Hard feat so we die at dying 5 rather than dying 4. Again, Trion's going to make sure his girl stays safe until his big day. Level 16 Expert Sorcerer Spellcasters can cast level 6 spells. Teleport lets us, and up to 4 targets, how convenient, instantly travel up to 100 miles to a place we know the location and appearance of. Cognitive Crossover lets us choose 2 skills, and if we fail a Recall Knowledge check in one of those skills, we can spend a reaction to make a Recall Knowledge check using the other skill instead. We're going to choose Arcana and Occultism. Greater Revelation gives us the Greater Revelation spell associated with our mystery. Flaming Fusillade immediately casts the Produce Flame cantrip, then for the next minute we can cast Produce Flame in 1 action instead of 2. Normally we wouldn't cast more than 1 spell in a turn unless we're using Quicken Spell, but even that's only once per day. Now we can fire off 2 Produce Flames in our opening salvo and up to 3 for 10 rounds after that. Not sure what on earth you're going to be fighting that requires 30 plus Produce Flames to take down, but hopefully bringing a piece of your father's realm was worth it, cause oh lord, he coming. Level 17 Oracles are subject to their Extreme Curse. When we are under the effects of our Major Curse and we cast another Curse-bound spell, we ascend to an Extreme Curse, which is the same regardless of mystery. We become Doomed 2 or increase the value by 2 if we already are. Doomed doesn't come up much, but basically it reduces our max dying condition value, and if it reaches 0, we instantly die. So with Die Hard, we die at Doomed 5. So maybe be careful. We also have to occasionally reroll skill and perception checks and take the lower result, all the while dealing with our Major Curse, which is basically everything including ourselves being constantly on fire. Hope all of those Produce Flames were worth it. We also get Greater Resolve at this level for Legendary Will saves, crit successes instead of regular successes, and regular failures instead of crit fails. Also, if we will be damaged by a failed will save, we only take half damage. We also get regular non-curse bound spells of the 9th level variety. Bind Soul gives us our out once we finally get Trigon to 0 HP. With this, we can trap a creature's soul away in a black soul gem, a black sapphire. Just make sure you put it in a safe space. The gem only has 16 AC. The forehead's probably not the best place for it, but what do I know? I'm not legendary in occultism. We'll take our skill increase for Expert Arcana. The Boneyard's Call Ancestry feat allows us to plane shift up to twice a week as an innate divine spell without a tuning fork. The only stipulation is that we can only travel between the Boneyard and the material plane. If your GM is cool, you can ask them to let you go back to Azarath with this if you want. Boneyard is still cool though. A level 18 will take Terrifying Resistance, giving us a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against spells cast by creatures we've demoralized in the last 24 hours. Do you really think we were going to go another level without new spells? You fool! Master Sorcerer Spellcasting gives us a 7th level occult spell slot. Now, if we hide and fly, we can fly for an hour instead of a measly 5 minutes. Level 19 Oracles are legendary spellcasters who can cast 10th level spells. Gate lets you make a portal between realms that can be sustained up to a minute. Any number of creatures can pass through as long as you're sustaining the spell. What makes this even better is that our other travel methods aren't nearly as precise. Just don't try this in Trigon's realm. He might not let you leave once you get in. We'll use our skill increase for Master Arcana and take the Home in Every Port feat. We're probably pretty far in our Titan's career by level 19, and no respectable vigilante team is gonna be caught without a safe house or at least a contact to stay with in every city. At level 20, we'll pick up some performance training. Teen Titans Go has some of the best songs ever put to cable television, and I will die on this hill. Terrified Retreat forces enemies we've demoralized to flee for a round. We probably aren't going to kill them, but they don't know that. For our capstone feat, Oracular Providence lets us cast an additional 10th level spell. Avatar lets you take on a battle form of a deity, gaining a huge size and a bunch of stats for a minute. We don't really have a deity, so I would say just choose one and stay consistent. Asmodeus probably fits the corrupted Trigon aesthetic the best, but Shaylin can pass as a White Raven kind of form. Savannah is basically you, but as a deity already, so that can work too. If your GM is a stickler about this, kindly remind them that you are spending a 10th level spell slot on this. Our ability boosts are mostly the same, except we'll boost Constitution instead of Wisdom this go around for a crumb more health. Now that we're level 20, let's examine the pros and cons of this build. For starters, we've got the power and versatility of 5 spell slots for most levels across 2 spell lists with a maxed casting modifier for both. Incendiary Aura and Flaming Fuselage combine to deal some of the most consistently oppressive spell damage over an extended period of time that I've come across in the game at least. We're also such a decent healer that I didn't even feel the need to take battle medicine. We should probably be refocusing between fights anyway. Now for the bad, the obvious being these oracular curse effects. If we aren't carefully pacing ourselves, all that extra damage is going to backfire on us, literally. We also aren't great at much outside of spellcasting. Sure, we can probably stumble our way through most social encounters with our high intelligence and charisma, but without any relevant feats or legendary skill proficiencies, we're probably going to be better off letting a more sociable member of the party be the face. We've also got pretty lousy HP and a curse that can potentially deal us damage. We might not even be alive for the Soulbind spell after beating the Big Dad. Thanks for tuning in to another build. Posting these videos is fast becoming my favorite time of the week. If it's your first time here and you enjoy the content, why not subscribe and share with your friends? If you're looking for another build to enjoy, look no further than right here.